Most men have no idea that they're sabotaging their relationships and destroying women's trust in the most crucial moments. What happens in the minutes after physical intimacy can either build an unbreakable bond or create emotional wounds that last for years. The shocking truth is that 90% of men completely fail during these critical moments, and it's costing them respect, trust, and future opportunities without them even realizing it. You might think the interaction ends when the physical act is over, but that's where you're dead wrong. Those quiet moments afterward are when everything that truly matters begins. This is when she's most vulnerable, most open, and most likely to form lasting memories about who you really are as a man. Miss this opportunity and you'll be just another guy who disappointed her. Master it and you'll become unforgettable for all the right reasons. The hidden psychology of post-intimacy vulnerability. The moment physical intimacy ends, something profound happens in a woman's mind that most men never understand. Her emotional defenses, which were already lowered during the intimate experience, remain completely open. She's in a state of heightened emotional sensitivity where every gesture, every word, and even your silence carries enormous weight. During this vulnerable window, her subconscious mind is processing one fundamental question that will determine how she feels about you moving forward. Was this meaningful, or was I just used? The way you behave in these precious minutes will answer that question for her, whether you realize it or not. She's not consciously analyzing your every move, but her intuitive mind is reading your energy, your presence, and your emotional availability like a book. This isn't about her being needy or overly emotional, it's about basic human psychology. When someone allows themselves to be physically vulnerable with another person, they're temporarily in a state where they're more susceptible to emotional impact. Your actions during this time don't just affect the moment, they create lasting neural pathways that will influence how she thinks about you, about herself, and about intimate experiences in general. The tragedy is that most men completely check out during this crucial period. They've gotten what they wanted physically, so they mentally move on to the next thing. They grab their phone, start getting dressed, or worse, they become cold and distant. What they don't realize is that this behavior sends a devastating message. Now that I've had you, I don't need you anymore. The 3 non-negotiable actions every mature man must take. First essential action, provide immediate emotional safety. The first thing you must do is create a bubble of emotional safety around her. This isn't about making promises you can't keep or declaring feelings you don't have. It's about being present and grounded in the moment. Emotional safety means she feels secure, respected, and valued as a complete human being, not just as a physical experience you've just had. Emotional safety looks like maintaining gentle physical contact for a few minutes, keeping your arm around her, holding her hand, or simply staying close instead of immediately creating distance. It means your energy remains warm and connected rather than shifting into coldness or indifference. You don't have to say much, but your presence should communicate that you're still there with her mentally and emotionally, not just physically occupying the same space. The key is understanding that emotional safety isn't weakness, it's strength. Real masculine power isn't just about physical dominance or sexual performance. It's about having the emotional maturity to hold space for another person's vulnerability without running away from it. When you can remain emotionally grounded in the aftermath of physical desire, you demonstrate a level of character that separates you from ordinary men. Many men worry that providing emotional safety will make them seem too attached or soft. This thinking is backwards. A man who can stay present and caring after intimacy shows that he has control over his emotions and reactions. He's not ruled by his impulses or desperate to escape uncomfortable feelings. He's comfortable with intimacy in all its forms, not just the physical aspects. Second essential action, acknowledge her worth beyond the physical. The second crucial action is to actively acknowledge her value as a complete person, not just as a physical experience. This means recognizing that what just happened involved more than just bodies. It involved trust, vulnerability, and emotional courage on her part. She didn't just give you access to her body, she gave you access to a part of herself that carries deep meaning. This acknowledgement doesn't require grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It can be as simple as genuine eye contact, a sincere compliment about who she is as a person, or a statement that shows you see her as more than just a physical encounter. The goal is to make her feel seen and valued for her complete self, not just for what she provided physically. For example, instead of saying nothing or making superficial comments, you might acknowledge something you genuinely appreciate about her personality, her intelligence, or her courage in being vulnerable. You might thank her for trusting you or let her know that you respect her as a person. These words carry profound weight because they address her deepest need in that moment, to know that she matters beyond the physical act. The reason this is so powerful is that it counteracts one of women's deepest fears, that they're only valued when their body is involved and ignored once that need is fulfilled. When you take the time to acknowledge her worth beyond the physical, you're telling her that she's not invisible now that the lights are back on. You're confirming that she's a complete human being worthy of respect and recognition. Third essential action: communicate with clarity and honesty. The third essential action is to provide clear, honest communication about where you stand emotionally. This doesn't mean you need to define the relationship or make promises about the future. It means being transparent about your feelings and intentions without leaving her in an emotional vacuum. Silence after intimacy isn't neutral. It's loud, confusing, and deeply unsettling. When you say nothing, you force her to fill in the blanks herself, and those blanks often get filled with fear, self-doubt, and pain. Even if the encounter was casual, even if you don't see a future together, she deserves honest communication about your perspective. If the experience meant something to you, say so. If you're unsure about your feelings, express that respectfully. If it was purely physical for you, communicate that truth without being cruel or dismissive. The key is to be honest while remaining kind and respectful. You can be direct about your feelings without being harsh about hers. This communication serves multiple purposes. First, it gives her the dignity of knowing where she stands rather than leaving her to wonder and worry. Second, it shows that you respect her enough to be honest rather than leaving her in uncertainty. Third, it demonstrates emotional maturity and the ability to handle difficult conversations with grace. The deeper psychology of energy exchange. What most men never consider is that intimate encounters involve a profound exchange of energy that goes far beyond the physical act. During intimacy, you're not just sharing bodies, you're sharing emotional states, psychological energy, and even spiritual essence. This exchange doesn't stop when the physical act ends. It continues to influence both people involved. After intimacy, it's crucial to reflect on what energy was exchanged. Ask yourself, what did I take on from this encounter? Did I feel energized and alive, or drained and heavy? Was this connection light and positive, or did it carry unresolved pain, sadness, or confusion? Energy doesn't lie, and it doesn't need words to travel. It moves through touch, through intention, through breath, and through emotional presence. If you're not conscious of this energy exchange, you can end up carrying emotional baggage from one encounter to the next without even realizing it. You might wonder why you feel mentally exhausted or spiritually disconnected after certain encounters. The answer often lies in the energy that was shared and how it was handled afterward. Equally important is considering what energy you gave her. Did you leave her feeling respected, affirmed, and emotionally stable? Or did you pass on your anxiety, your emotional carelessness, or your need to escape? Men often see intimacy as a release, but few recognize it as a transfer. A transaction happens in that moment, and it's not about who experienced physical pleasure, it's about who left with what. This is why self-awareness is critical. A man who is conscious of what he carries and what he leaves behind doesn't just move from encounter to encounter aimlessly. He understands that every intimate experience leaves a spiritual fingerprint, and if he's not grounded and intentional, he ends up stuck in cycles that drain him and leave women confused, anxious, or emotionally wounded. The long-term impact of your post-intimacy behavior. The way you handle the moments after intimacy creates ripple effects that extend far beyond that single encounter. Your behavior during these crucial minutes doesn't just affect how she feels about you. It influences how she sees herself, how she approaches future intimate relationships, and whether she maintains trust in men in general. When you consistently provide emotional safety, acknowledge her worth, and communicate with clarity, you're contributing to her overall emotional well-being and her ability to form healthy relationships. You're showing her that intimate vulnerability can be safe, that she can trust her instincts about people, and that she deserves to be treated with respect and dignity. Conversely, when you withdraw emotionally, fail to acknowledge her worth, or leave her in silence, you're potentially contributing to emotional wounds that can last for years. You might be reinforcing her fears about being used or abandoned, damaging her ability to trust future partners, or creating negative associations with intimacy itself. The memory of how you made her feel in those vulnerable moments after intimacy will stay with her far longer than the physical experience itself. People don't remember what you did to them as much as they remember how you made them feel. And after intimacy, those feelings speak louder than anything that happened during the physical act. Building your reputation as an emotionally mature man. When you consistently handle post-intimacy moments with wisdom and maturity, you build a reputation that sets you apart from other men. Women talk to each other and they remember how different men made them feel. The man who can remain emotionally grounded and respectful after intimacy becomes known as someone who can be trusted with vulnerability. This reputation isn't just about being seen as a good guy, it's about being recognized as a man of character and emotional depth. In a world where many men struggle with emotional intelligence and flee from vulnerability, the man who can stay present and caring after intimacy demonstrates rare qualities that are highly valued. This emotional maturity also affects your own development as a man. When you learn to stay present during vulnerable moments, you develop greater emotional resilience and depth. You become more comfortable with intimacy in all its forms, not just the physical aspects. You learn to hold space for complex emotions without being overwhelmed by them. The skills you develop by handling post-intimacy moments well transfer to other areas of your life. You become better at managing difficult conversations, supporting people through challenging times, and maintaining your own emotional equilibrium during stressful situations. These are the qualities that define mature, successful men in all areas of life. The difference between taking and honoring. At its core, the difference between men who handle post-intimacy moments well and those who don't comes down to the difference between taking and honoring. Men who fail in these moments are focused on what they can take from the experience: physical pleasure, validation, conquest. Men who succeed understand that true power comes from honoring what was shared. Honoring means recognizing the full scope of what occurred during intimate moments. It means acknowledging that she didn't just give you access to her body, she gave you access to her trust, her vulnerability, and her emotional courage. It means understanding that what she offered was a gift that deserves respect and appreciation. When you honor rather than just take, you elevate the entire experience for both of you. You transform what could be a purely physical transaction into something more meaningful and positive. You create the possibility for genuine connection, even if the relationship remains casual or brief. The ability to honor what was shared during intimate moments is what separates boys from men. Boys take what they want and move on without considering the impact on others. Men understand that true strength comes from caring for those who trust them with their vulnerability, even in temporary encounters. Why this matters more than ever? In today's world, where casual encounters are increasingly common and emotional connection is often avoided, the men who can handle post-intimacy moments with wisdom and maturity stand out dramatically. Most men are so focused on the physical aspects of intimacy that they completely neglect the emotional and psychological dimensions. This creates an enormous opportunity for men who are willing to develop these skills. When you can provide emotional safety, acknowledge worth, and communicate with clarity after intimate moments, you differentiate yourself from the vast majority of men who fail in these areas. You become someone who can be trusted with vulnerability, which is one of the most valuable qualities a man can possess. Moreover, learning to handle these moments well contributes to your own emotional development and overall success with relationships. Whether you're interested in casual encounters or serious partnerships, the ability to manage post-intimacy dynamics with skill and sensitivity will serve you well throughout your life. The 3 essential actions, providing emotional safety, acknowledging her worth beyond the physical, and communicating with clarity, are not just about being considerate to women. They're about developing the emotional maturity and character that define truly successful men. When you master these skills, you'll find that your relationships become more fulfilling, your reputation improves, and your own emotional well-being increases significantly. Remember, intimacy isn't just an act, it's a mirror that reflects your character, your values, and your emotional depth. What you see in that mirror after intimate moments reveals more about who you are than almost anything else. Choose to be the kind of man who doesn't just take pleasure but creates positive experiences for everyone involved. Choose to be someone who honors vulnerability rather than exploiting it. Choose to be a man of character who understands that true power comes from lifting others up rather than using them and walking away.